Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Indeed, a beautiful morning to be out and about. A beautiful morning also to worship. I was bouncing around somewhat on my Bible this morning. I had a preacher friend in Virginia who said he has a hard time sometimes organizing. And he said sometimes to prepare a message, then after the message is prepared, I try to find a title for it. So I guess maybe that's where I'm at this morning. I was sitting in a meeting, conference, and they were telling us how to organize things on the computer and how to have a filing system and all that and how to organize whatever, and which is really not my thing. And somebody asked me, now, do you have a filing system? And I said, no, I have a piling system. Rather than a file. And, well, might as well be honest about it, I guess. I was looking at the message that I sometime, and probably my next message, I would like to share something about the events and the nature and what is going to take place in the 1,000-year reign of Christ on earth. I was studying some of it. I didn't get all the way through it and everything. And I do not think that I would have it at a point where I'm not ready to share it. I need to do some more work on it because it's too vast. And I know that there's also churches in the area who will tell you that we're in the kingdom now, but we're not allowed, the Bible doesn't allow us, and we shouldn't take it literal. It will not be a literal kingdom. It will be a kingdom of, and what the Bible has to say about the kingdom is not literal. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I thought it is, and I still do. And the Bible has a great deal to say about it. So I have a few little stories that I would like to share with you this morning. Just not stories, but events. There was actually my message this morning will be something leading up to that point of the establishment of God's kingdom on earth. The church is not the ultimate of the kingdom of God. It will be a part of it, but it is not the ultimate. There was a man in Pennsylvania, Virginia, that I knew. One of them I knew quite well. His brother I knew better. The man's name was Menno Simons Stoltzfus. He became a friend of a rabbi in Israel, and they were discussing a lot of things. And Menno Simons asked him the simple question, He said, I want to ask you something. I ask you this. If someday you discovered that Jesus of Nazareth is the Messiah, what would you think? He said the rabbi bowed his head. He didn't say anything for a little while. Then he looked at Menno Simons and said, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. He had a brother by the name of Abner who was involved in International Guest House. And some of us, if you're old enough, remember Andrea Gromyko, who was the Russian ambassador to the UN. Gromyko was his name. He had a meeting with him. And Andrea was very critical of Christianity in the U.S. and what they are doing, because his idea was everybody in the U.S. is Christian. Abner said, "Let me tell you what a Christian is." And he took some time and he explained to him what Christianity is, that not everybody here is a Christian. And he told Andrea what this is what Christianity means, and this is what a Christian represents. And after he was finished explaining this to Mr. Gromyko, he looked at Abner and he said, "So, not everybody in America is born again." He got the message. He got the message. So I would like to go through some of the things that are going to lead us up to the time of the beginning of the 1,000-year reign on earth. And one of the reasons I believe in the 1,000-year reign is this. And I believe that I have probably mentioned some of these things before. But I believe the 1,000-year reign is going to be the earth to be what the situation was at the creation, at the time of creation. Before there was sickness, disease, death, and what God had really planned for it to be. And because sin entered the world, sin changed everything. There came along with it pain, disease, anger, lust, hatred, murders, all kinds of things went wrong. And I look at the book of Genesis, the book of first beginnings. And some of those events are very, very sad. It describes them in Genesis 5 as one of the saddest chapters, I believe. It describes a person was born, he lived so many years, he died. Verse after verse, he died. He died. Death came into the world, and death by sin. And I look at some of these things throughout the scriptures, and my mind is going to focus this morning on the two witnesses of Revelation chapter 11. And I don't really want to go into the biggest question that people have is, who were the two witnesses? There are a lot of different answers. We want to take a specific look at some of them. And one of them is, it was Moses and Elijah, because the way that they are described. I'm not sure, was Moses involved? Because Moses died. And it was appointed unto man once to die. So Moses died and God buried him. He showed up at the Mount of Transfiguration. Was Moses going to die twice? I don't know. Will there be an exception? I don't know. But if you look at Revelation chapter 11, and I'm going to going to turn to that now. But there are a great deal of things that we can look at and assume maybe, but there are some things in Revelation 11 that I had some questions on. In fact, the entire book of Revelation, sometimes I do not have a perfect understanding of the book of Revelation. I really don't. One of the most difficult things is I don't believe it is written in chronological order. And it's kind of difficult for me to put things together in their chronological order the way it should be. But it's there for our learning. And it was when John was told to write the things that were, the things that are, and the things that are to come. So he's to write about the present and the future. And it involves greatly the people of Israel now. And they will be brought to repentance. And another thing, and before I overlook that part, first I'll get there later in the chapter. There was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. The court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not. For it is given unto the Gentiles the holy city, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. I will give them power unto my 2 witnesses. They shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks, standing before the God of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth, and devoureth them, their enemies. If any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. Now these have power to shut up heaven, that it rain not, in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues, as often as they will. And I'm going to stop there for just a minute. That does kind of describe what Moses did when the children of Israel came out of Egypt. Now, is he speaking here of Moses? I will admit that there is something mysterious about the death and the burial of Moses. Now, I guess one of the things that I would argue with is, if people knew where Moses was buried, no man knows where his burial is, even to this day. If people knew, they might go and worship him almost as an idol. And that was not God's plan. When we were in Israel, we were told by our guide, when we go to the tomb of King David, there's a steel gate in front of it, there are bars in front of it, you cannot touch the tomb, you can see where it is, where David is buried. And he said, you do not go and worship this place where David is buried. We stood back. I just backed off and I kind of observed. I saw people come, I saw a lady come, and she went up to the gate and she kissed the gate where King David was buried. And I was told that there was in Rome a statue that was to be Saint Peter, and they actually had to build up his big toe because so many people kissed his big toe that it was wore down and they had to rebuild it. And this is not the plan that God has for us. And if people knew where Moses was buried, I'm sure there would be a lot of tourists be going there. I don't know. There is another train of thought that it may have been Enoch. Could well be. Enoch walked with God, and he was not because God took him. There was Elijah, who found his way up to heaven in the fiery chariot and did not need to go through death. Does Elijah have his glorified body now? Or is he going to come back and be one of the two witnesses and die? They were preaching the gospel. There were 144,000. And then there were the two witnesses. And another thing that I see in this chapter is this. In verse 19, Revelation 11:19. And the temple of God was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of the testament. After the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, Solomon's temple, where the ark had been located, there were people who have believed they had found it. There is a tradition, it is somewhere in Ethiopia. I don't know. But it's telling us here, it did not say that there is an ark of the covenant. If we look at the ark of the covenant, it is this. It was in the very presence of God in the Holy of Holies in the temple. And the high priest would go in there once a year with blood and put a drop of blood, anoint the thing with the altar with blood. The lid of the ark was called the mercy seat. It was not a judgment seat. It was the mercy seat. It shielded the man from the very presence of God. And this is why, because the law of the Lord was placed in the Ark of the Covenant. And when the people got nosy and they opened the Ark and looked in, they bypassed the mercy seat. It was like looking God in the face, and they died. And I'm asking the question, could it be that this ark was transported to the New Jerusalem and is there waiting for us? And along that, I want to say this. When Jesus rose from the dead, and Mary came out and wanted to hug him and grabbed him, he said, don't cling to me. I must first ascend to my Father. And I believe that Jesus ascended to heaven itself. And it doesn't say that specifically, but I believe he went there and put his blood on the altar. I'll just leave it there. But I believe the ark in the covenant that was in Solomon's temple, where the glory of God appeared, is now in heaven itself. I'll just leave it there as it is. Now, things that are leading up to the time when there will be the new heaven and the new earth. I think I'll go back to Isaiah 26. The book of Isaiah has so much to say about those times. Well, Isaiah 26:19. Isaiah writes this: a dead man shall live, together with my dead body shall they arise. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in the dust, for thy dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. Speaking of a resurrection. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut the doors. About hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overspread. He's speaking of to the Jewish people that they would hide until the indignation is past. Speaking of the tribulation that is going to be coming on this earth. That is in Isaiah 26. Now in chapter 27, the last part of that chapter, we have more. And it repeats itself over and over again. In that day, in that day, in that day. In chapter 26 and 27. Ye shall be gathered one by one in chapter 27. And it shall come to pass when? In that day. What day? When the earth will cast out her dead. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall beat off from the channel of a river unto the stream of Egypt. Ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel. And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown. I believe this is speaking of his, not the rapture of the church, but of his second coming. That the great trumpet shall be blown, and they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria, and the outcasts of the land of Egypt, and shall worship the Lord in the holy mount of Jerusalem. We do see the gathering of the people coming to Israel now, and I have a few things I need to share on that score, and that is this. Israel was scattered around the world at the destruction of the temple, of Herod's temple. They had no land of their own, but they returned in 1948 to be reestablished and have a land of their own. At that time, there was not one Messianic congregation in all of Israel. Not one. And when I was studying this, I got a little thing in the mail called News from Israel. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not. Fascinating little book. You get it about every month. And I started to read it, and here all these things came up. At the time this is what I was studying. And all I could say was, thank you, Lord. In 1948, there was not one Messianic congregation in all of Israel. Today, there are over 300 Messianic congregations in Israel and more than 30,000 members total. Church is growing, and it's growing fast. They have also founded in Israel the Israeli Bible College. It offers courses in Hebrew and English. Their videos have been viewed by over 50 million hits and times. On average, someone calling this information every 12 minutes. There's a man by the name of pastor in Israel. His first name is Daniel. I can't even think of or pronounce probably his last name. He had established a church in Jerusalem, and the Hasidic Jews, the Orthodox Jews, would throw big rocks through their windows. They would persecute the people who came to the congregation there. They moved all their facilities, and they built a new place in Tiberias. And they have a tremendous success of people coming to their service. Jews, Arabs, Muslims from all over Israel are coming and are members of his congregation. I have a friend by the name of Howard Silverman, who lives near Columbus, Ohio, on 161, close to Route 62. They have a Messianic building there, service there, every Friday evening. I have for a number of years been making plans to sometime be in their service, and I'm telling you this on myself, I have not been there yet. But they have it every Friday evening. They run an ad in the Ohio State newspaper that if they want to know more about the Messiah, they have a phone number to call. And they said they get call after call after call. And there are people, Jews, who are attending Ohio State University, who come out to their service because they want to know more about the Messiah. And who is this Messiah? The witness to the Jews is going out more than ever. Since October 11th, what happened in Israel, there have been more people immigrating to Israel than ever before in a short time. People are searching. People are searching. And there are other things. I think my time is up. And I haven't said anything yet, really, of what I wanted to say. But Isaiah has a great deal to say about some of the things that are going to take place in Israel. And one of the things is this, that in the forefront of all of this is Jesus of Nazareth. They are looking for a man who is able to bring peace. They are trying to get peace in Israel. They're working very hard. It doesn't seem to come. Some of their surrounding nations are saying the only good Jew is a dead Jew. They don't care about the land. They want to get rid of the people. There is a hatred for the Jew. Why? We read it through the Old Testament of the hatred for the Jew in the different countries throughout the world who say either convert or leave. In 1492, it happened in Spain. And it's believed that this is why Christopher Columbus left. He left. Because every Jew in Spain was either to convert to Catholicism or leave. Europe had banned all Jews. Not that they did anything wrong, but because they were Jews. All Jews were also forbidden to practice in Germany. They were to leave before, under Hitler. The top attorneys, the top doctors, the top scientists were all Jews. They left, and Germany lost the war. I think I'm going to stop there. I have a lot more to say about this. Conditions of the Jewish people throughout the book of Revelation, and what the 1,000-year reign is going to look like. Maybe we should get somebody to stop the clock sometimes. It's all right. You can still get to the cafeteria before the Baptists get there.